Welcome to the College Investor Audio Show, where we talk about the biggest issues impacting millennial money, from student loan debt to side hustles to building wealth. We will show you how to get out of debt so that you can build real wealth for the future.
A pretty cool show today. Some great ideas for you. Thanks for stopping by to the College Investor Audio Show. You know, you're likely already aware that the cost of college has been rising faster than the rate of inflation by a lot over the past several years and even decades. In addition to the cost of college tuition, some other expenses associated with college also continue to rise. These ancillary expenses like books, fees, housing, and other expenses, they're crazy. But you do have several different options for your college housing, both on and off campus. Our show, How to Pay for College Housing on and Off Campus. Awesome. First of all, let's talk about saving for college housing expenses. This is the first thing you're going to want to do to pay for college housing, no matter where you plan to live, is to just save beforehand. Housing expenses are generally considered qualifying expenses for a 529 plan, by the way. If you live on campus and you're paying your room and board expenses directly to an accredited university, then that room and board will be a qualifying expense at least half time. If you live off campus and are paying these expenses to a grocery store and landlord, then the college you attend will set a limit on how much of these expenses will be qualifying. Of course, the advice to save money in a 529 is mostly applicable if college is a future expense and you still have time to save for these. But if you're in the middle of college right now, not going to be that useful to tell you that you should have been saving for this all along. Still, if you or a family member is paying for housing expenses, it can make sense to first contribute that money to a 529 plan and then use the 529 plan to pay the housing expenses. That way you can gain some federal and state tax benefits. The next idea we have is to live at home. One of the biggest and easiest ways to save money in college, live at home. Generally, this does require that you attend a college that's, close to where your parents or other family members live. But even if your parents charge you rent as part of living with them, you're still likely to save a ton of money living at home. Another option that you might consider at some point would be buying a house. I know that might sound crazy, but buying a house while in college won't necessarily be for everyone, and probably not for most people, but in the right situations, it can absolutely make sense for you. One scenario in particular where you'd want to consider buying a house instead of paying room and board is if your family has multiple siblings that are all planning to go to the same school. Buying a house and having the siblings all live together will likely come out financially ahead as compared to paying room and board for everyone. Plus, you can sell the house when you're done with college. It will likely appreciate while you're there as well. You can also just get a job. I know, a bit of a cliche, but there can be a lot of good reasons to get a job while you're in school. While your first priority should, of course, be your schoolwork, that doesn't mean that you can't also earn money as well. While you'll probably not going to be wanting to work 40 hours a week, even a part-time, on-campus job can help pay for college housing and other expenses. It can also teach you valuable time management skills that are going to be maybe even more useful than some of your classes in college in your adult life. Protect your stuff. Okay, just as important as earning money to pay for college is to make sure to protect the assets that you already have. Dorm room renter's insurance is one way to do that, and renter's insurance always works just as well if you're living off campus. It might seem like a waste of money to get insurance when your budget is already tight, but renter's insurance is likely to be cheaper than you might expect. And you might even be able to get an even more discounted rate through your college. Using student loans. Okay, it's possible to use student loans to pay for college housing, but you're going to want to be very wary of using student loans for living expenses. Remember that every dollar that you pay for with student loans is another dollar that you will have to pay back when you graduate, with interest. While it can be convenient to use your loans for housing and other living expenses, remember that in some ways, your student loans are a glorified credit card. The best way to pay off your student loans is to not get a large student loan balance in the first place. And the best way to do that is to be very careful and guarded about what you use your student loans for. I know it's understandable that there are some situations where your only option is to pay for housing using student loans. If you're in that situation and you feel confident that your post-college employment is going to allow you to pay back your loans, then this may be a viable alternative. Just be careful about spending money via student loans as you would be about spending money on your credit cards. Here's the bottom line. I know college tuition expenses are rising faster than the cost of inflation, but tuition and education expenses are not the only part about paying for college. College housing, both on and off campus expenses, are also going up, and you're going to want to make sure that you have a plan to pay for housing costs. If you still have a few years before you'll need to pay for college, make sure you're saving money in a tax-advantaged 529 plan. If you're in college right now, just maybe think about getting a job, living at home, or making sure that you're using insurance to protect the assets that you already have. Above all, study hard, graduate on time, so you don't have to pay an extra year of college. Eek! Thanks so much for stopping by today. That is our show. If you want to know more about this, dig a little bit deeper, get tons of ideas on side gigs and side hustles as well while you're in college, you can find everything at thecollegeinvestor.com. Don't forget thecollegeinvestor.com. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you again real soon.